already passed on is that there are FBI servers that are sort of standalone, and people inside the FBI have been working night and day to destroy files on these servers. And I was told that once these files are destroyed, the way they are set up, that even Elon Musk could not restore them. So that's happening right now as we speak. That's happening with Kash Patel being the director. It was happening before he got there. And so that subversion, like I said, started immediately.
Blow the whistle. Want to really see something that said, take a look at what happened.
Hey.
Why this beat so cold?
We will make America proud again. When you try to kill our we will make America wealthy again. And yes, together, we will make America great again.
Hey, buddy. Pam walked in there clapping. Cash walked in there with that new suit and that watch on. Yeah, and the deep state is shaking out their shoes. Yeah, buddy, they deleting stuff, destroying stuff, burning stuff up, the evidence, the files. Yeah, it's getting real, y'all. And we got a whistleblower. Got to blow that whistle. Boy, let's go and get into this, family. I hope everybody is blessed, well, healthy, and that nothing but the best is going on in all you beautiful people's life. You just can't make this up. Check it out.
Garrett, I just want to thank you for your patience today. It's just been so rapid fire, and we weren't actually planning on doing like a full FBI show. Now that the team is coming together, it's been really exciting, and it's got to be exciting for you. Put your entire career and life on the line, actually, by becoming a whistleblower and exposing so much of the heart of darkness. This has got to be like a day of great redemption for you,
Benny. It's an interesting day. You know, there's an old Chinese proverb that says, "May you live in interesting times," and they mean that as a curse. And in a lot of ways, so 2 days from now, it'll mark 29 months since I'd been suspended. And to follow up, Kyle, for those of you who listen to your show, they may know Kyle and I kind of have a storied past together at this point. And if it wasn't for him kind of leading the charge for us FBI whistleblowers, I probably wouldn't even be here right now. But it's a weird, interesting, unique, special time.
So, I want to sort of branch out. Maybe next time we just do a panel, right, with you and you and Kyle. Maybe we'll just let you guys roll. Let's just do that for the hour, right? It's like there's so many angles to go at with the FBI. We did a whole breakdown of Dan Bongino's like 17 different things he wants to investigate right now, given the fact that you've been inside of the building. And Dan Bongino has never been an FBI agent. It's worked obviously in federal law enforcement, but not with the FBI. Where would you advise him to start? Right? Like, where would you advise? And the deputy director of the FBI is a very, very powerful position. Where would you begin, Garrett?
Right. For all intents and purposes, the deputy director is the one who's running the day-to-day operations, or at least overseeing them. So Dan is going to have a huge responsibility because, as you mentioned, he'd never worked in the FBI before. So there's going to be a learning curve for him as well. Same as with Cash. I'm sure they recognize this. So one, they're going to have to surround themselves with good, solid, strong, patriotic FBI personnel. But at the same time, good luck finding those. Kyle and I and Steve Friend, who I know you've had on, we've sort of helped to some degree with vetting certain people and giving our input to Cash, and hopefully they will listen to some of that. But the biggest issue from my view is now that these guys, Dan and Cash, are in the building, so to speak, in the Hoover building, that is where the corruption is worst. That is where around every turn there's going to be a viper trying to poison them. And these people, especially in that area, this is what they live for. They live for this type of subversion. And it started on November 5th. All of us have heard from people inside the agency more than maybe ever before since we got suspended or quit or whatever else with the other guys. but more and more people are reaching out and telling us information
said
and
way
saying
before
who to
that.
watch out for, giving names, giving things that are happening right now to try and thwart the administration, and now to try and thwart the naming of Dan Bongino as deputy director and Kash Patel being sworn in last week as the director.
Wow, this is fascinating stuff. I mean, obviously, you don't want to betray your sources or what's happening without measure, right? We as a program would be happy to break any news that you bring to us and to help in this fight. But can you maybe give us a closer in perspective as to what the subversion is happening inside of the building right now? I mean, it's obviously you're going to have like an antibody reaction to somebody
Absolutely.
like Kash.
I'll give you a big one that I heard recently, which was already passed on, is that there are FBI servers that are sort of standalone, and people inside the FBI have been working night and day to destroy files on these servers. And I was told that.
Wow. Y'all hearing this, man? And a lot, I've seen this in my comment section in previous videos of people saying this. So this isn't anything new.
Once these files are destroyed, the way they are set up, that even Elon Musk could not restore them. So that's happening right now as we speak. That's happening with Kash Patel being the director. It was happening before he got there. And so that subversion, like I said, started immediately. And it's only going to continue. These people, and here's another example. I was told last week, right out of the gates, Kash Patel came out and said 1,500 people, 500, you're going to Alabama. You're still going to be headquarters personnel. You're going to Alabama. 1,000 of you, you're going out to the field. He said this long before the election, even, that he said if he was in charge, he would say, let cops be cops. And so go out and be cops. Already people are saying, we are not going to comply with that. We are going to make it seem as if we transferred. We're going to do what they call, quote unquote, paper transfers. And we're not going to obey these lawful orders. I don't know if you heard Stephen Miller in the last few days. He came out and has given a great civics lesson on Article 2 of the Constitution. The FBI falls under the executive branch, and you have these career bureaucrats who say, no, we answer to no one. Well, hopefully that's going to change, and I think under Kash Patel and Dan Bongino leadership, I think it will. But they've got to root out this subversion first.
Any idea what's on the servers that's so damning that it has to be siloed into such a secure facility with the lack of redundancy or capacity for anybody to go through and sort of from like digital forensics, right? You can uncover most data that's deleted, you can uncover it in some capacity. So somebody's worked very hard to make sure that this data that you're talking about can be deleted and destroyed forever. Any idea what it is?
No idea on what it is. I can only speculate, but you mentioned the Epstein list. I'd imagine it's cases like that. It's intel cases that are very siloed, very secretive. And I'm sure there's probably even information regarding the FBI's own subversive measures against Americans, against American politicians, for instance. We learned over the last few days that the Oval Office was bugged. And they took out the Resolute desk to inspect it more. Who's doing that type of thing, Benny? It's going to be, if they're operating at all as they should be, it's going to be the FBI, because they're the domestic agency. Now, is it beyond the CIA or NSA playing a role? No, not at all. Because I think all of these agencies at this point do not have the best interest of the American public in mind. That's something that the Trump administration is trying to change. But it's going to be an uphill battle, I believe, for the entire term.
Yo, it's crazy that you just said that. I'm not going to reveal who, but somebody who works inside of the West Wing came up to us in a private setting when we were in D.C. and said, you would not believe the number of times that my office has to be swept for bugs.
It's crazy.
Inside the White House has to be swept by agencies to figure out if there's electronic monitoring that's happening to us on a daily basis. It's crazy, man. Okay, so can it be reformed? I guess this is where Kyle went. Kyle immediately hit out who cares about all the rest of this stuff? Your enemy is inside of the building. Can it be reformed? And then how does it get reformed? Is it mass firings? Do you burn it down to cinders and then rebuild? Like, what happens, Garrett?
Right. I lean towards no. I don't think it can be reformed. My faith is a huge component of why I'm in this position at this point. By no means am I a perfect man, Benny. I'm far from it. My kids and wife will verify that. But I think of in the book of Jeremiah where it says, the heart of man is deceitful above all things. It's desperately sick. Who can understand it? And so when you have an institution that one doesn't even, or the majority of the people don't even look to a higher power, of course they're going to have a desperately sick and deceitful heart. So I don't think it can be reformed. That being said, I'm not saying let's not try, because I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful for Dan Bongino and Kash Patel to bring in massive reform and change. Still, I don't know if it will stick long term. I think historically, if you look at any government, if you look at any police or law enforcement or intelligence entity that has the power of a place like an FBI, they always turn into a secret police organization. And I believe that the FBI has been marching down that road for a very long time.
So, I mean, I guess institutionally, the follow-up to that, in conclusion, would be you could turn the entire agency inside out by taking those secret police powers and weaponizing them against those who behaved criminally over the last few years. I mean,
absolutely.
A couple frog marches is pretty powerful, and there is just basic human nature. Yeah, I'm a father as well. Nobody wants to be deprived of the freedom to raise your children. Most people have pressure points, and even the most evil institutions can be flipped on their heads when you realize that no one's safe, and maybe it's time to out the people that behaved criminally. I'm an optimistic dude.
Yeah.
Garrett, I'm an optimistic dude at heart, right? So it's like I straight up admit my silver lining sort of look on the world, but it does seem like a couple of key arrests or a couple of key departures or a couple of key charges, may prevent, I don't know, wasn't the FBI leaking on one of the raids on Tren de Aragua? It's like,
right. Absolutely, yeah.
You arrest that person. You destroy their life forever. You make them an anathema, right? You frog, that just seems like a good starting place, right?
I absolutely think that could help. If there's one thing
y'all know we advocate for, y'all already know, man. Somebody being made an example out of, man. People got to put their hands behind their back.
I recognized during my time in the FBI is that I'll use the word cowards. Most people there are cowards. But perhaps it is just that complicity, those pressure points that you mentioned. And I point to COVID for this because there were roughly 3,000 people in the FBI who said, no, this is a hard no for me. I'm one of those people. We were all put on a list. Oddly enough, Kyle, Marcus Allen, Steve Friend, those two guys I testified with, a number of others who are unknown to the public. Our common thread was we said, I'm a hard no on putting in substance into my body that I have religious reasons as to why I don't want to do it, or just bodily autonomy reasons as to why I don't want to do it. And you trying to force me to do it is a hard no. I'm willing to give it all. I'm willing to sacrifice my career for that. Most people just said, that's too big of a hill for me. And so they just complied. And so I think if you start actually holding people accountable, my favorite example today, which it'll change tomorrow, I'm sure. But right now it's Eitan Haim, the doctor whistleblower out of Texas, who came forward with the transgender information that was really in violation of Texas law. There's an FBI agent named Paul Nixon. That case could have started and ended with Paul, but instead he weaponized his position like a good secret police operative and said, nope, we're going to go after this guy. Even though it's an unreasonable, and that case has been dismissed now. But it was years of their life, hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars in lawyer fees and other fees, and then living under that threat of, am I going to be able to raise my daughter?
Yes.
Thankfully for them, it was dropped by the current DOJ, but people need to be held accountable now.
Put your hands behind your back.
Well, I mean, we're thankful that we have an audience that is so like rabidly prepared to hold these people accountable. We're waiting for the shoe to drop, and we have a feeling it'll drop in spectacular fashion, and we'll be able to actually hang, scalps proverbially of the people who did that. And that's how you actually start. That's how you change the culture, actually, right?
Absolutely.
You make people pay, and the left sure as hell understands this.
They do.
I know
You're
we
absolutely
advocate for
right
it,
about
man.
that. And this is the piece that maybe shame on me. I swore that oath to the Constitution twice as an infantryman in the Army, once as a police officer and once as an FBI agent. Every time I did it, I actually meant it, and I thought everybody else around me did. I learned emphatically with the FBI that wasn't the case. So hopefully that will change.
Garrett, just like with Kyle, we really hope that the audience is going to grow to love you. I hope everybody goes and follows Garrett, one of the few people that you could actually properly classify as brave, who stands up against the heart of darkness here and put everything on the line in order to speak the truth. We hope that you're on regularly and you can explain these things to us from your expert perspective, because I think we're going to be in for a wild ride here, man.
I think you're right. Thanks for